call this meeting of the Committee of the Whole to order. This March 7th, 2022 Committee of the Whole meeting. In compliance with the Open Meeting Act, a current copy of the act is available at this meeting. Madam Clerk, would you please take roll?
Augustine Schulte,
Here.
Here.
Amer,
Here.
Jablonski,
Here.
Creashaw,
Here.
Lohr,
Here.
Roth,
Here.
Schilling.
Here.
Council President Augustine Schulte, the roll has been called.
Thank you. The first item on the agenda is staffing adjustments in community development and engineering departments. Mrs. Vasicek, would you like to?
Good evening, council members. Yes, I'll address this. I received word about a month ago from Dan Curtis that he is retiring mid-April. Dan is our community development director, as you all know. He's been here for a long time. He's got a lot of knowledge. So we're disappointed that he's leaving, obviously, but like we do when any position is vacated, we took a hard look at our workload in City Hall and in our various departments in City Hall, and discussed with Dan and other department heads where our needs are. I know where our workload is because I often, as you probably do, get complaints about where it's slower compared to other areas. And that's not because we don't have high quality employees, but right now I would say our bottleneck in our workflow is in the engineering department, those technical services that require engineering expertise. So with that being said, I'm proposing that we change our staffing a little bit in community development, that instead of a community development director, we do not replace that position, but instead create a chief building and code enforcement official. So that position would oversee the 3 building inspector positions that we have in community development, and also the 2 code enforcement personnel that we have presently. So I'm expecting that if approved, that this chief building and code official would be an internal promotion and of a current building inspector. That is I believe we have qualified staff internal to fill that job, and then we would open up an entry-level building inspector position and be able to train that new person. So that obviously is a little bit different job description than the community development director, but also the community development director could have been doing a more wide variety of planning sorts of activities. Ideally, in most communities, a community development director would be doing a little bit more economic development, a little more planning types of activities, but really that expertise lies in other areas in our current staffing. So we don't need to replace the community development director, and quite frankly, it'd be a very difficult skill set to fill as the job description was written. As you know, a couple years ago, we did away with electrical inspection. The state now does all that. It would be nearly impossible to get somebody with that kind of expertise for the salary that we have, or even if we increase the salary. But a project manager or a project engineer, in the engineering department, that addition will allow Rick Bogus, our city engineer, to delegate quite a bit of duties and split duties between the 2 engineering positions that will really increase our efficiency. There's a number of city projects that don't get completed as quickly as we want them to, or private developer projects that we just don't have the capacity to take on to accelerate those timelines. And there is a massive amount of activity in the city of Columbus, which is good, but also if we can't produce at a quick a speed as those projects want to happen, then we're perceived as the red tape or the things slowing projects down. And I don't want that to be the case. I think we need to make some adjustments so that we can produce as quickly as the community is ready to grow. And right now we're not really able to do that. Rick and I were just talking last week about our fiscal year and our workflow. You know, when we talk in June about major roadway projects for the next fiscal year, it is real, and the magnitude of, you know, the sheer volume of projects that we're doing to get those approved in the budget, designed, bid, and then constructed all within 12 months is almost impossible in a lot of cases. So we're having a lot of carryover. So the budget process isn't even as efficient as I would like it to be. So I really think with another engineer, we can start those processes a little sooner and get projects done so we have less budget inefficiencies as well. There's a lot of day-to-day work that, you know, writing RFPs, all of that sorts of stuff that really is slower than we would like it to be, just because we do not have enough personnel to get the work done. You can see that the fiscal impact for these recommended changes, it is obviously we're taking one position and we're creating two positions. It is an increase to the general fund of about $80,000. But again, I think we will more than see that in return. If we hire an engineer to design one roadway project, it's 4 times that. You know, so if we can have an engineer in-house that can do those sorts of projects, those more simple civil engineering types of projects, or free up Rick from be able to have him delegate smaller projects and him be able to do those bigger projects, it's going to save the taxpayers in Columbus a significantly more than $80,000 a year. So that's my justification for it. I think if you want to get into more specifics, we certainly can, but I hope you all, you know, you see enough projects coming through. You see the activity report every week. There's a lot of engineering work that happens, a lot of a labor and workflow that goes through the engineering department. So I do think this will be a good change for the organizational structure. I also believe it will be challenging to fill this position. So it will not get filled in the next 4 weeks, I can tell you that. It's going to be a process of getting in front of students. It's probably going to be an entry-level sort of position, but we knew that going in and think it can still be an efficient addition to staff.
So your 123,000 is that's what the salary is to start, or is that
for the project engineer,
no,
or
the
for
chief
the chief
building
building
code official?
That's the total expense. So that is
I know, but I mean, do you think that's what we're going to
that's
hire them
about
at?
yes, that's about what I expect it to be.
Then where would they go from there?
That's about step 4 of a 7-step scale. So they'll have 3 years of
So do you think we can find somebody at that?
yes. That one, the chief building and code official, that's the one I think we can fill with an internal building inspector promotion, and then we can backfill that building inspector position. The project engineer is the one that will probably take a little more time to fill.
And it might just be a typo, but your current annual building inspectors is 223,870, and your proposed is 211,870.
That's because of that change. I'm expecting to
You're anticipating
a decrease in the building inspector because we'll be promoting somebody that's at step 7 to the chief building official position, and we'll be hiring at step 1 or 2.
Okay.
That's why it goes down.
Thank you.
Any other questions or thoughts for me?
Just when I emailed you about the $80,000 difference, that's just going to come out of general fund. We're not going to. Okay.
That would be supported by general fund. It's a general administration sort of expense, and we do have room in the general funds for this sort of change. Again, it's going to save the city a significant amount of money in future budgets as well, because we won't have to budget so much for engineering services on our projects.
Those are just big numbers to the public.
They are big numbers.
Huge numbers.
And it is very expensive to have staff, and I totally understand the long-term impact of adding staff. But, you know, I think it's a feather in Columbus's hat. We're the fastest growing city outside of the I-80 corridor and metro area, and we have significantly less staff. I mean, I think Norfolk has 4 engineers on staff. You know, we have Rick. So I think it's time for a step up in this area because we have so much good stuff going on, and we really can support another engineering position.
Tara, is there some equivalent projects that we have currently that we farmed out that we would be able to do in-house that you can maybe share as what we would be able to take on with this?
Sure.
position?
Well, for example, right now we hired HDR to do our wastewater. Now, we probably still would have had to hire them for some consulting services, but probably not as much as we did. I think we approved a $300,000 contract for engineering services, just design engineering. We probably could have saved at least half of that, I think, if we could have kept it in-house and just hired them for the master planning of that sort of contract. I'm trying to think, Rick, step in here. The 23rd, you're hiring out some stuff, and right now we're splitting a lot of projects and trying to be efficient. Go ahead if you have.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say there's a lot of projects that maybe either not if you're done in totality or in partial, that we could save well beyond the number that Tara was talking about earlier. Off the top of my head, it's kind of hard to come to them all, but we've looked at that over the past several weeks that we've been talking, and we could easily do that each year. I don't think this year is unique. We could have did it in the past couple years, this year, and the next years that we see coming forward.
Even the community building project, we had civil stuff on that Olson Associates is doing that we probably could have stepped in to do. I'm trying to think, like 63rd Avenue, that's part of the redevelopment project out there, and Advanced Consulting Engineering is probably going to be doing a lot of that engineering. We maybe could have stepped in and saved some money and done that. There's a lot of housing projects in the pipe that ideally developers would like the city to quickly design it, bid it, and get it going, but we're always telling them we just can't do it that fast. We don't have the manpower to be able to do those sorts of things. So if we had things like this in place, I think we could move those projects along faster.
I surely don't expect you to list all of them. I was just kind of looking for
Sure.
kind of an analogy of to put it in perspective for everybody.
Sure.
Thank you.
The list of essential functions is quite lengthy. I was wondering, are some of those multiple where they can, they interact between each other, or, if I'm an engineer, I'm looking at that list,
I took the city engineer's job description and I basically kept a lot of the functions that he does because I expect that they will work in tandem on most everything. And it depends on the person we get. If I would like everything in the job description should be all encompassing. But if we get person A in here and they're good at half of that list, then that's the half that Rick's going to delegate to them. If they have experience in that area, they've worked in that area before. If we get person B and they're better at the other things, then that's what Rick will delegate to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's really another city engineer, and it's a broad job description.
I think when you look at the fact that the city's growing and we just have a lot of things going on, the good about growing and having a lot of things going on is it's great. The bad is that we need some help, and we have to support that help. We don't hear usually the things that get bottlenecked until they get bottlenecked really bad. Mm-hmm. And then your friend calls you or your contractor calls you and wants to know why it's not moving forward. Yeah. And so I think there's more of that than we realize in the internal workings. And I think, what Tara and Rick are trying to do is make a step that gives less of that and makes it more efficient, maybe moves it along quicker, helps all of us, helps our citizens, helps us, just makes it a cleaner process for everybody. And yes, personnel costs money. You know, we always look at not adding people any more than we have to, because when you add them, they don't leave.
Right.
We've always said that in every one of our budget discussions. When you add a person, that person's there. You know, so I mean, it's done with lots of forethought and discrimination. So, I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense. In regards to hiring, you know, maybe we'll get lucky. We are, you know, it's March. May is around the corner. We've got graduates coming up. You know, I'm sure a lot of them are already committed. You know, we got
We've
anybody,
already made
got
some
anybody out in
calls.
Seattle that wants to come this way and work with us?
I can ask him, yeah.
I don't think so, okay.
Yeah.
Do we need a motion or for anything to pass this on to the city council?
Yep, there's a,
Recommend,
there's a recommendation in the,
so do we have a,
Madam President, I'd make the motion to recommend the pay plan be amended to replace the position of Community Development Director with Chief Building and Code Official, and add the position of Project Engineer to the Engineering Department.
Second?
we have a motion and a second, and please vote. And our motion passes. Thank you, and our meeting is adjourned.